Well, hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's evening edition of The Goldie Show. And we have a lot to talk about tonight and not a lot of time. So I'm going to be a little bit shorter, or at least I'm going to try to be a little bit shorter and more concise in my analysis because there is a lot going on. And I have a feeling that we may right now be seeing that the relationship between the United States and the Islamic regime may have actually gone beyond the point of no return. First of all, of course, I wanted to once again give my condolences to all Americans and especially the family, friends, and loved ones of the two American service members who lost their lives at the hands of the Islamic regime. It's definitely sad news for all of us, including us Iranians, and we are mourning with you. I spoke about that as well in my live stream earlier today. Guys, just a quick reminder, this is The Goldie Show, and The Goldie Show is basically my live stream that I've been doing since October. So there you go. It's literally my live stream. So just for clarification, if anyone was confused about what exactly it is they are watching. So let's keep the questions in the chat to questions about the topic, which is geopolitical analysis and commentary, something that I've been doing for a very long time as a former Canadian politician and, of course, Iran and Middle East expert. So I want the way that tonight's show is going to work is I'm going to share a few breaking news clips from Fox News just to kind of get us oriented as to, what the current news cycle is. And then I'm going to give you the Islamic regime perspective, what they are saying on, Durka News Network. And then I'm going to give you my overall analysis on, based on the strikes by the United States against the Islamic regime, where I see this heading. But the one thing I do want to say is that months ago, when talk about this MOU began, I immediately said right away that this MOU is not going to last because the deal, the deal that President Trump wanted the Islamic regime to agree to was essentially a surrender deal. And a lot of people said, Goldie, you have no idea what you're talking about. Goldie, you're wrong. Goldie, you're talking in all these hypotheticals, right? A lot of people were like, oh, Goldie has no idea what she's talking about. And yet, here we are. And everything that I predicted is now coming true. Everything that I predicted, everything that I said. We're now exactly seeing that happen. So there you go, guys. Just wanted to point that out. I always said the deal that President Trump wanted the Islamic regime to make was a surrender deal. And the Islamic regime would never agree to that because if they agree to a surrender deal, then they're essentially not just surrendering to the United States, but they're surrendering to the Iranian people. And the Iranian people will then rise up and overthrow the Islamic regime. So there you go. But let's get into the breaking news, and then I'll continue afterwards with what we're hearing from the Islamic regime side. And then I'm going to give you my overall analysis. And then afterwards, I'm going to get to your questions, comments, and super chats. So any questions or comments, more than happy to respond to them after I'm done my analysis. And, of course, as always, let me know in the live stream chat or in the video description below where you're tuning in from. Always interested to know where our global community is watching from. So, all right, let's get to the first news here.
The Iranians also carrying out attacks on America's Gulf allies as the regime threatens to carry out a full-scale offensive.
Lucas Tomlinson is live in Tel Aviv with the details. Hey, Lucas. Well, good morning, guys. The Pentagon says 13 U.S. troops, 10 soldiers, and 3 sailors have been wounded in action this week at various bases in the Middle East, likely from Iran's continued attacks in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan, and particularly a large attack on that base in Jordan, housing hundreds of U.S. troops and fighter jets. Now, the U.S. military has been fighting hard the last few nights, including a number of strikes around the Strait of Hormuz, trying to get more shipping through that critical waterway. Here's the former commander of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet.
I think what we're in the process of doing is making it impossible for the regime to control the Strait of Hormuz from that same landmass, from the islands, from the littoral area that borders the strait itself, and then further inland where the roads and bridges and railroads are at, their ability to move supplies not only around the country, but into and out of the country.
U.S. airstrikes began on Iran on July 7th when President Trump was in Ankara, Turkey at the NATO summit, and when Iran hit those 3 oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, bringing an end to the ceasefire. Since then, U.S. Air Force F-35s, F-16s, F-15s, and Navy Super Hornets and their version of the F-35 stealth fighter jet have been in the vanguard of the response, dropping 2,000-pound satellite-guided bombs and standoff missiles, destroying bridges recently around Bandar Abbas in recent days, Iran's largest naval and commercial port on the Strait of Hormuz. Now, shipping traffic has slowed to a trickle in this strait in recent days to highlight how dangerous it is right now to sail through there, guys.
So, guys, I just want to point out, so earlier today on Iran Revolution Live, I spoke about Bandar Abbas, remember? So, Bandar Abbas, this port city here, right? And guys, so Bandar Abbas, it's right on the Strait of Hormuz. And I explained earlier today, the reason that Bandar Abbas is being heavily targeted by the United States is because it is the single most important location when it comes to the Islamic regime's operations on the southern coast. Okay, so when we're talking about not just the ballistic missiles, ballistic missile launchers, but also the attacks on ships in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. So I mean the attacks might come from these different locations and of course other smaller bases, but Bandar Abbas, that is the major hub. Okay, so the HQ for the IRGC Navy is there. The HQ for the Iranian Artish, the Army Navy is there. Armed forces. So the Iranian armed, like the Iranian Navy. Okay, so the IRGC Navy, the Iranian Navy, and also the Khatam al-Anbiya Navy. Okay, Khatam al-Anbiya is like another jihadi branch of the Islamic regime. So at least 3 major, like the top 3 major headquarters for these different navies are located in Bandar Abbas. And of course, Bandar Abbas also has like these facilities and factories where they produce military like equipment and like the speedboats and stuff as well, right? Like the little speedboats that they use to go and attack the cargo ships. That's all produced here in Bandar Abbas. And of course, Bandar Abbas, a big logistical hub of transportation. So, like a lot of the military transport routes, like they all have to end up in Bandar Abbas at one point or another. So when, the Trey mentioned how the Americans are striking Bandar Abbas, that's the reason why. Because he mentioned that here. Although I think he said like Bandar Abbas or something, which is fine, but that's Bandar Abbas.
Iran's largest naval and commercial port on the Strait of Hormuz, right, dropping 2,000 spire. Since then, U.S. Air Force F-35s, F-16s, F-15s, and Navy Super Hornets and their version of the F-35 stealth fighter jet have been in the vanguard of the response, dropping 2,000-pound satellite-guided bombs and standoff missiles, destroying bridges recently around Bandar Abbas in recent days. Iran's
right. So all those bridges around Bandar Abbas. Okay, and earlier today, I spoke about how I've received confirmation that even the route from, there's a city over here called Lor, population is maybe like 70,000 people. So even the route, guys, even the route from Lor, which is over here somewhere, to Bandar Abbas, that route has been completely destroyed. So it seems like Bandar Abbas itself is being completely isolated from all of the other cities. Okay, that is a very important, but also very intelligent and smart strategic military operation, right? So when President Trump said that, they're going to be attacking the bridges or whatever, the Islamic regime was going around saying that, oh no, like, President Trump's just going to attack like random pedestrian bridges or something, right? Like, why would the United States go and attack a random pedestrian bridge? Literally makes no sense, right? Like, there's no military, strategy to doing that. But what the United States is doing is they are going after those bridges, which are part of the key transport routes for the Islamic regime. And all of that leads to Bandar Abbas, right? And so it's like basically all the bridges on all the various routes to Bandar Abbas. Let's continue.
The largest naval and commercial port on the Strait of Hormuz. Now, shipping traffic has slowed.
Right, so Bandar Abbas, largest naval and commercial port on the Strait of Hormuz.
Got bombs and standoff missiles, destroying bridges recently around Bandar Abbas in recent days, Iran's largest naval and commercial port on the Strait of Hormuz. Now, shipping traffic has slowed to a trickle in this strait in recent days. To highlight how dangerous it is right now to sail through there, guys, U.S. warships have not attempted to transit the Strait of Hormuz in more than 2 months. The U.S. naval blockade has returned this week. An Iranian advisor, the supreme leader we've not seen or heard from since his father and most of his family were killed on the first night of the war, warned, quote, if U.S. strikes continue for several more days, we will move into a phase of full-scale offensive operations. So we can expect more.
Okay, so guys, this one. This quote coming from Mohsen Rezai, okay? He is on our Boom Boom bingo sheet, okay? So let me pull up the Boom Boom Jihadi Durka bingo sheet, and I'll show you where Mohsen Rezai is. So Mohsen Rezai is the one whose face looks like a weird apple. Like, you guys have seen that apple meme. I don't know where it is right now, but this is Mohsen Rezai. Okay, so he was retired, and then and then after February 28, because the United States and Israel boom boomed so many terrorists, they actually didn't have like enough people left with experience, so they literally had to like drag this guy out of retirement to come back and help command the military operations, or the IRGC, because there's literally not that many people left who have any sort of experience, right? Like, they're all pretty much dead, right? They've been boom boomed, right? Like, look at all these people. Look at all these people here who've been boom boomed, right? So that's why they forced this guy to come back out of retirement. And then now he's literally saying some of the most insane things, right? So he's basically saying, if the US strikes continue for several more days, right? So he's saying, guys, like, tone it down, because if this continues, we will move into a phase of full-scale offensive operations. Guys, they can't do that. They can't do that because a lot of their military assets have been destroyed. Now, have all of them been destroyed? No. But what do you think the United States has pretty much been doing in the last week or so, right? Like, the United States is systemically targeting every single IRGC base in every single city in occupied Iran, right? Like, literally tiny villages that I've never even heard of. They're like, the surrounding areas are being boom boomed because the IRGC has built military bases there. So I don't even know like what sort of full-scale offensive operation the IRGC can even initiate, because as you saw, the footage that I shared from earlier today, remember this footage, okay? Is it this one? Yeah. No, it's not this one. Let me pull up the footage. It was is it this one? No, it's not that one. Where was it? Oh, here we go. It was this one. Okay, so this is what, so remember, This is the insane thing about what this guy is saying, what this Durka is saying, Mohsen Rezai, right? Like he's so insane. I don't know if he's insane or senile or I don't know what's going on, but he's basically saying if the U.S. strikes continue, the Islamic regime is going to move into a phase of full-scale offensive operations. Meanwhile, the Islamic regime can't even defend its own bases in broad daylight. Okay, so this footage that I shared earlier today on Iran Revolution Live, this is literally an IRGC base in, I believe this is Baharistan. So Baharistan is, small city. This is an IRGC base that was literally targeted and bombed in the middle of the day, okay, at 11 a.m. So literally, American fighter jets flew over, right? Clear skies, broad daylight, and American fighter jets just very easily flew over, boom, boom them, or I don't know, maybe I don't know if it was American fighter jets or maybe ballistic missiles were sent. I don't know what technology was used, but either way, the point is that the Americans are literally attacking and destroying IRGC bases in broad daylight. And the Islamic regime literally can do nothing about it. And this is not even in the border, okay? This is in the center. This is in the center of the country, okay? Let me show you where it is. Okay? Okay. So this is Iran and this is Baharistan over here. Okay? So literally Baharistan is remember if Iran is like a cat, right? So there's the cat, there's the head, there's the ears, that's the tummy area. These are the paws, the feet, and the tail. This is the little back, and this is its humped curve, right? And for those who are new and have no idea what I'm talking about, let me show you what I'm referring to. Okay. So this is what I mean. So when I talk about Iran looking like a cat, right? There's a cat sitting. That's the head. Those are the ears. That's the little curve in the back, the arch in the back, and then that's its back area. And then of course here you have the chest, and then you got the paws over here, and then the tail. Okay, so that's kind of Iran looks, kind of like how people say Italy looks like a boot. Iran looks like a cat. So going back to our cat. So Baharistan is literally in the central part of occupied Iran. Okay. Now I don't know where this missile or where this attack came from. I don't know if it was fighter jets. I don't know if it was missiles launched, but that part of it doesn't matter, right? Either way, if it came from somewhere over here, the Americans are here, right? Remember the blockade is happening here, right? So it's the border of Pakistan all the way down to here. So the Americans, I don't even know if they're in the Gulf of Oman. I think the Americans are somewhere in the Arabian Sea. Just assuming. Again, I don't know. I don't have any intel. I don't have any internal security details or nothing like that, but I'm assuming they're somewhere in the Arabian Sea, which means that if they are here, okay, that means they are literally able to either fly jets, okay, all the way to Baharistan, or send missiles from here all the way to Baharistan. Okay, so think about here to here. Okay, in broad daylight, and the Islamic regime can't stop them. Okay, the Islamic regime literally cannot stop them. And Iran is not a small country. Okay, Iran is a very large country. Let me show you how big it is in comparison to the United States. Okay, so here is Iran over overlaid on the United States. Okay, so I would say it's about, I don't know, a quarter, maybe a quarter to a third of the size of the United States. So it's not a small country. Okay, it's at least one quarter the size of the United States. And so we're talking about like attacks. So comparing sort of the geographic area for some comparison. So assuming that the U.S. The U.S. Fleet is somewhere down here in the Gulf of America. Okay, so basically they're sending missiles from the Gulf of America to what's this state beside Colorado? Sorry guys, I'm not up to speed with my what is that? Kansas. Okay. So imagine, yeah, Kansas. I think this is Kansas, yeah. Is this one Kansas or Nebraska? Is it Nebraska? Okay. Wait, let me just look up. You guys, you Americans, you're trolling me now. You're all giving me like different answers, guys. Oh my gosh. It's Kansas. It is Kansas. No, it's Kansas. No, I'm referring to like Kansas. This one here. This one here. That one, I think that one is the other one. Nebraska's up there. I'm referring to Kansas. I'm referring to Kansas here. So this one here, that's Kansas. Guys, you know what? You're all taking advantage of the fact that I'm not American, and so you're trolling me with like the US states. That's okay. That's okay. I'll let it slide. But anyway, so that's sort of the distance. Okay, so to put this in perspective, imagine if the US fleet is down here in the Gulf of America, and they're literally able to send either fighter jets or missiles to Kansas. Okay, from here to Kansas in broad daylight with no interceptions, right? So that's how large Iran is, and that's sort of like the distance for just like one example. Okay, but they've also sent either fighter jets or missiles to IRGC bases in Tehran, which is even further than Baharistan. Tehran is, I guess this would be Nebraska, the Nebraska area, completely unintercepted, right? Unintercepted. So going back to, oops, sorry guys, I closed the screen there. So anyways, that's like the map of United States over just to give you of Iran over the United States, just so you get like a your bearings when it comes to the size, right? So the fact that actually it's even further away, because I was like assuming that it was here, but looking at the map again, they're here, so like it's even farther away, right? Even farther away. But anyway, so there you go. So that's like, so going back to what like Reza is saying, going back to what this guy is saying now. So this guy is claiming that if these attacks continue, the Islamic regime is going to begin a full scale attack, as if like he's basically pretending as if like they've been holding back or something, right? But I mean, this is one of like the crazy Durkas, and he's got a little bit of a skid mark on his forehead as well, right? So remember, those of them who have like the skid mark on their forehead, they're like extra crazy. They're literally extra crazy. Like that's basically a sign of insanity, of like religious fanaticism. Okay, like that one has it. The chief executioner, he's got the skid mark on his forehead. This guy Vahidi's got the skid mark as well. So like, I mean, they're all insane. They're all insane. But the ones with like the skid mark, like this one here, he's got the skid mark as well. So the ones with the skid marks are like extra crazy. Okay, so he's got like that skid mark on his forehead because he's like a religious fanatic. So there you go. So that's and I will get the full video of Mohsen Rezai and what he said in Persian with the translation. But there you go. So this is the quote that like the IRGC is giving, even though I just explained to you and pointed out and outlined how the United States is literally able to attack bases, right? They're attacking bases in Baharistan in broad daylight. So this was at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. IRGC base targeted in broad daylight, and the IRGC can't do anything about it. They can't stop them. So, like it's absolutely insane to me that these Durkas are. I mean, you know what? I shouldn't say it's insane. I mean, we all know this is how they are. We wish they were normal and they would just surrender. But these people are literally insane jihadis. So now you're actually seeing their ideology at play, right? Because any normal, rational, logical, sane human being would have already surrendered by now. But we are not dealing with normal, rational, logical, sane human beings. We're dealing with a inbred 7th century death cult, okay? Like they're literally a death cult. They're literally a death cult, and they will never surrender. They will never surrender because that's not how jihad works, okay? This ideology has been engaging in jihad for 1400 years, and you're seeing like basically modern day jihad. That's why they're not surrendering. That's why they're literally willing to put the life of every single Iranian man, woman, and child in danger. That's why they've been holding 90 million Iranians hostage for the last 47 years, and they will never give up. Even though the United States is destroying them in broad daylight, and their missiles and fighter jets are just literally like 100% domination over the skies of Iran. It's literally 100% domination, right? Like the Islamic regime can't do anything about it. All they can do is they send these cluster missiles, right? And remember, cluster missiles are basically a war crime. They send cluster missiles, and of course, once in a while, a target will, like they will hit a target. And of course, we saw the unfortunate incident today where at least 2 American service members were murdered by the Muslim Nazis. But I digress. Let's continue with this, and then I will also share Mohsen Rezai's actual statement so you guys can see how insane this guy is. So let me go back a few minutes or a few seconds here.
Week, an Iranian advisor, the supreme leader we've not seen or heard from since his father and most of his family were killed on the first night of the war, warned, quote, "If U.S. strikes continue for several more days, we will move into a phase of full-scale offensive operations." So we can expect more airstrikes from the U.S. military. There has also been at least 3 medevac flights carrying wounded soldiers from the Middle East, guys.
Thank you, Lucas.
Thanks, Lucas.
Let me ask you a kind of a really big picture question. We all remember a couple of months ago when all of this began, you and Trey were right there where you are right now in Tel Aviv, and there were constant missiles coming in. What does it tell us about the current capabilities of Iran that you're able to stand there in Tel Aviv and give that report and not have incoming missiles?
It's a good point, Charlie. It's been months since Iran launched any attacks on Israel. In fact, you have to go all the way back to early June. Now, it has been noisier in northern Israel from Hezbollah, but the last rocket attacks into northern Israel was back on July 2nd. So it's been, knock on wood, relatively calm in Israel in recent weeks and recent months when you talk about the war against Iran. But as I just mentioned off the top, 13 U.S. troops wounded this week at various bases in the Middle East. What Iran is concentrating now on are those bases in Jordan, Bahrain, and Kuwait primarily.
Just to kind of piggyback off of that, Lucas, it feels like this is a regime, obviously, that cannot be trusted. The way that we've seen the back and forth with these negotiations is a lot of that just bluster. They say they're going on the offensive. But to Charlie's point, if we're not seeing a lot of that activity, is that very realistic at this point?
The problem, Laura, is that you're dealing with 3 different governments inside Iran. And some would say it's not even a theocracy anymore. It's more of a military junta. The IRGC, those generals have taken over the country. They're heavily
Boom, guys, did I not tell you? I literally told you. It's game of Durka. It's game of Durka. It's game of Durka within occupied Iran. Ever since Khomeini was sent to hell, you have all the different factions, right? So, and I've been telling you that this guy, like he's one of the crazy ones. And the IRGC has kind of, like it's always been like a wild dog. I shouldn't insult dogs that way. It's always been like I don't know, like a rabid demon, right? A rabid demon, I guess, right? But now, like, they're even more insane. Yeah, so, now, like, on Fox News, you're hearing, like, some would say that the mullahs aren't in charge anymore and the IRGC is. Guys, that's literally what I've been telling you for the last several months, right? It's that's why this is why the IRGC pushed for Mojtaba Khomeini to become the supreme dictator, because he's either dead or in a coma or severely disfigured, or I don't know, maybe the IRGC have held him hostage somewhere, right? And he basically does their bidding. So he's not actually in control, right? He's just a puppet. He's just a tool. And again, we haven't even seen or heard any sign of life from him, right? But this is what I mean. I've been telling you for a long time that the mullahs, right, they're no longer in control. It's the IRGC, and they're even more dangerous than the mullahs, right? So there you go.
Different governments inside Iran, and some would say it's not even a theocracy anymore. It's more of a military junta. The IRGC, those generals have taken over the country. They're heavily involved in the business of Iran. Half the oil is owned by the IRGC. It's almost like dealing with the mafia. They've shown in recent days and weeks they don't want to give that up. And despite the best efforts from the U.S. military to open the Strait of Hormuz, we've really seen that shipping traffic slow down to a trickle. Not many ships going in and out, and certainly none in recent days using the Omani, that southern route. So it's very difficult. We've also seen from Iran that their magazines are a lot deeper than we expected perhaps just a few months ago, when we heard reports that 80-90% of their stockpile had been decreased. They continue to launch drones. In fact, just the other day in Kuwait, they launched 33 drones at that country. So the U.S. military has its work cut out for them.
Yeah, you're right. It sounds very clear that the head of the IRGC, Ahmad Vahidi, is not showing any signs, even being so hampered and destroyed militarily, that he's going to stop anytime soon. We'll continue to follow it. Lucas Tomlinson, great report. Thank you.
So remember, they just talked about the head of the IRGC, Vahidi. It's pronounced Vahidi, but remember, this is Vahidi, right? So here we go. This is Vahidi, right? So that's who they were just referring to on Fox News. You guys know him as General Skidmark because he has that crazy Durka jihadi skid mark on his forehead, right? So that's who they're speaking about right now. And they're all, this is the interesting part. The people on Fox News, he said Vahidi. Okay. What was I going with this? So yeah, so basically they're kind of talking about how Vahidi maybe the reason why he's not surrendering is because, who knows, maybe he's like a radical or something. Guys, this is what I've been saying for a very long time. The Islamic regime, the IRGC, will never surrender. They will never surrender. I still don't think that mainstream media, and I say this respectfully, I still don't believe that mainstream media understands how insane these people are, okay? Like, there's a reason he has this on his forehead, right? Because this is basically like them bragging about, like, they pray so much to Allah that, like, their foreheads have become, like, dark with, like, the clay prayer stone that they use or whatever. But, like, what they actually do is they just take the clay stone and they just rub it on their forehead for 5-10 years or something, until they just get like a permanent mark on their forehead. So yeah, like mainstream media is just catching up. Probably in like maybe a few weeks or maybe a month, they'll start saying in a month what I'm saying to you like right now, or what I've been saying to you all along. So don't expect these people to surrender. Guys, the IRGC will never surrender. And the reason that the IRGC will never surrender is because if it surrenders, it literally fails at the very thing that it was created for. Okay, remember, the IRGC, which stands for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps was created in 1979 after the Islamic regime occupied Iran. So the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has absolutely nothing to do with Iran. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps was created to protect the jihad of the Islamic regime. Okay, so these are basically the modern day jihadis. So, remember like 1400 years ago, how, the Arab Muslim invaders kind of conquered the Middle East through jihad. And then, they started going to, Europe. And then, of course, the Christians responded with the Crusades and kicked the Muslim invaders out of Europe. That's literally why the Crusades started. The Crusades were a defensive response to the Arab Muslim invaders at the time. So the Crusades were 100% justified. So in this case, okay, the Islamic regime is currently engaging in jihad with the great Satan, America, with the little Satan, Israel, and of course with the infidels that they're occupying, the Iranian people. So if the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps surrenders, that means they have failed at their purpose, and that means they will no longer have a reason to exist, okay? This is why they will never, ever surrender. As long as the IRGC, as long as the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps exists as an institution, they will always wage war, and they will always be a threat to the United States. Okay? This is what I believe, like Western politicians and the mainstream media and Western pundits maybe don't necessarily understand about the Islamic regime and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. But once you understand the history behind the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and once you understand the reason that it was created, then at that point, you can very easily come to the conclusion that, okay, like these guys will literally never surrender. Because if they surrender, then they have no reason to exist. So there you go. That's a little context about that. And now I want to go to the next video by Fox News. So that's the one that I shared. And here is the next one. So then we kind of get into, the breaking news. Wait, is this the one? Okay, no, I just shared this one. No, wait. Yeah, no, sorry. I already shared this one. This is the one that we were just watching. So let me go to the next one now. So then of course we have the sad breaking news of at least two US service members killed. So I want to play this.
Okay, guys, stand by here. We've got some breaking news to get to right now out of the Middle East. Some new news from CENTCOM here. We've got Lucas Tomlinson, who is live in Tel Aviv for us. Lucas, what are you hearing?
Aisha, we've just learned from the U.S. military central command in charge of all U.S. forces in the Middle East that 2 American service members have been killed and 1 is still missing after an Iranian missile attack on a base in Jordan. Additionally, we've learned that 4 American service members were wounded. They were transferred to Jordanian hospitals and have since been discharged. This all coming last night after at least 2 intermediate range ballistic missiles fired from Iran hit a base in Jordan not long after U.S. Air Force personnel had arrived, part of President Trump's reinforcements, an F-16 squadron, as well as an F-35 squadron. Of course, U.S. Air Force personnel are deployed throughout the Middle East. We've been heavily focused on the 2 U.S. Navy aircraft carrier strike groups that are in the Arabian Sea. The Air Force isn't as public about where it deploys its forces, but Jordan is a major hub, along with bases here in Israel, also Qatar, UAE, and of course in Saudi Arabia. But Jordan has been a major hub. So once again, Aisha, 2 American service members have been killed. 1 is still missing, and 4 were wounded in an Iranian ballistic missile attack on a base in Jordan last evening. It is the first American casualties in months since those 6 U.S. Army personnel were killed in the early days of the war in the attack on Kuwait.
Yeah,
Aisha.
terrible news this afternoon, Lucas. And we were anticipating, we'd heard some things about it and just wanted to make sure and confirmed it before we went on air with it, Lucas. So thank you for that report. As far as the 4 American service members that were injured and have now been medically evacuated, do you know anything more about how bad those injuries are and how they were injured?
It appears they were injured when these Iranian ballistic missiles hit their intended target at this base in Jordan. Let me read the statement from U.S. Central Command, Aisha. It says, on July 17th, 2 U.S. service members in Jordan were killed in action as U.S. Central Command and partner forces defended against Iranian ballistic missile and drone attacks. Additionally, 1 service member is currently missing in action. 4 American service members were medically evacuated to Jordanian hospitals. They have since been discharged. Other personnel who were evaluated for minor injuries have returned to duty. Out of respect for the families, CENTCOM will be withholding additional information, including the identities of the fallen, until 24 hours after the next of kin have been notified. So this is the alert from the U.S. Military Central Command about 2 American service members being killed. 1 is still missing. 4 wounded in action, treated at Jordanian hospitals and discharged. But earlier, we also spoke about other wounded American service members. 10 U.S. Army soldiers, 3 U.S. Navy sailors have been wounded in recent days before this attack last night on this air base in Jordan. Aisha.
And we knew that things were amping up because a senior IRGC commander this week was warning that if U.S. strikes continued for a couple of more days, and it had been going on for.
So what's interesting is that, again, like we've been like, I've been sharing the Boom Boom Durka Jihadi bingo sheet with you guys for a while, right? So and I've spoken about Rizai in the past. So I guess you could say we've unlocked a new Durkemon, right? Because now all of a sudden Rizai, right? Like everyone in the mainstream media is all of a sudden talking about Rizai. But I mean, you guys already know who he is, because you've been watching Iran Revolution Live, and we all have been looking at the Boom Boom bingo sheet. So I hope that I guess in a way it's probably cool, I guess, for all of you, because you've been watching my live streams. When you hear these names on the news, on the mainstream media, the names, you already either recognize the names or they sound familiar, because you guys all have copies of the Boom Boom bingo sheet. So there you go. See, so you guys are pretty much getting the news before it even hits the mainstream media, and then you guys already know who all these Durkas are, because you're all now pretty much experts in the game of Durka. So there you go. But let's continue with this, because now all of a sudden Rizai is all over the news, which is fascinating.
7 consecutive nights, Lucas, that Iran would move into a phase of, quote, full-scale offensive operations. So they were certainly ready to amp this up, and it seems like they have. We have reached out to the White House, Lucas. I have been trying to get some sort of a comment from them this afternoon, and I was just checking Truth Social, and we haven't seen anything from the president just yet. Of course, the question is now, does this change the strategy for the president, for the administration moving forward? I do remember, Lucas, I'm sure you do too, at the beginning of all of this, when people were asking about boots on the ground, what happens if we lose American soldiers, how that would impact his decision making. And he seemed to indicate that sometimes people get hurt and sometimes soldiers die when there's a conflict like this.
That's right, Aisha. We heard some of the early days of the war at the Pentagon briefing, both from the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and the Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Kane, that casualties are part of war. We heard it from President Trump as well, that casualties are inevitable. And you mentioned 7 straight nights of American airstrikes inside Iran. Really, the first airstrike started back last week on July 7th when President Trump was in Ankara for the NATO summit, and Iran attacked those 3 commercial ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz, one from Saudi Arabia, 2 others from the United Arab Emirates. Officials say that really irked President Trump, Iran breaking the memorandum of understanding. We heard President Trump say the ceasefire's over. That was the impetus to restart the war, certainly major combat operations in the skies over Iran. And we've been slowly seeing the Pentagon ramp up the target list. Before it was, Keshem Island, trying to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Mm-hmm. In the last few nights, we've seen bridges being taken out around Bandar Abbas. That's like the Norfolk of Iran. It's their largest naval base. It's a large commercial port and sits right on the Strait of Hormuz. So President Trump and the Pentagon want to see the Strait of Hormuz open to commercial traffic. But since these airstrikes have ramped up, Aisha, it's been over 2 months since U.S. warships made that dangerous passage to the Strait of Hormuz as well.
Lucas, just very quickly here before I let you go, because I'm reading the CENTCOM statement along with you as well. And obviously details are limited as they are still talking with families, respecting the families. They're trying to withhold as much information about these fallen warriors as much as they can, but just trying to understand what happened here. Do you know if the Jordanians were launching defensive airstrikes in return? Do you know if is that what happened here? They just didn't catch a couple of these ballistic missiles?
Most likely, the U.S. Air Force was launching strike missions from this base in Jordan. Again, we've been very public. We see the CENTCOM video showing the 2 aircraft carriers in the Arabian Sea. We see the maps. We show them frequently of all the U.S. naval assets. We normally don't talk about U.S. Air Force assets in the Middle East because a lot of these countries, frankly, don't want it out there. They don't want it very public, although we have an idea, thanks to plane spotters and just monitoring open source media, when some of these jets arrive. But when you look at Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Al Dhafra in the United Arab Emirates, in Qatar, Al Udeid, where President Trump spoke just a year ago, in the Middle East, the Air Force is deploying to countries throughout the Middle East, including here in Israel. In fact, dozens of more refueling planes are headed here, not just to Ben Gurion, but to the international airport here, but also to the desert, to Israeli Air Force bases. More fighter squadrons are heading in. I was told by officials that in Jordan in particular, F-16 squadron from Germany was deployed there to Jordan. Also, another squadron of F-35 stealth fighter jets. Recently, we saw F-22 Raptors, also 5th-generation jets, leave the Middle East. So these were likely not just replacements, but President Trump is ramping up this conflict against Iran. And to do that, you need more firepower to do it. And it's not just the U.S. Navy, Aisha. You have to send U.S. Air Force squadrons. A lot of these are based from Germany, from Italy, and of course, some from the United States as well.
Okay, so we'll end it there, but I want to go back to this screen and I want to pause it here because now I'm going to give you, so we've gone over some of the, news coming from American side. I'm going to share a little bit of news now coming from the Islamic regime side, the Durka terrorists, okay? And then I'm going to go to my overall analysis. But before I do so, because I've been live streaming for almost an hour, let me get to some of your questions and comments and super chats, and then I will continue afterwards. And then at the end of my analysis, I will go to the rest of the questions, comments, and super chats. So the first one is from Southern Cat Lady. thank you for your analysis. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate that. And you know, like I said, I'm you know, currently on the road. However, I made a promise and a commitment to, you know, always give my analysis, and of course, um, on Iran Revolution Live, to be a voice for the Iranian people fighting the Islamic regime. So here I am. You know, no fancy background, no fancy cameras, literally just me and my laptop and my webcam. But I'm very grateful that all of you are still here to get the latest input and analysis. And, you know, I promise you in a couple of weeks, when I'm, you know, back in my usual place, you know, we'll go back to the nice fancy camera and, you know, my setup. But, you know, guys, though, I do want to say I did bring my Iran flag with me. So at least, you know, there's a little part of, you know, my studio with me there. So I do have my Iran flag. But thank you so much. Appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words. Um, Uncle sorry, Uncle DS6467. Trump has been very quiet over the past 24 hours. I agree. I've been monitoring his Truth Social. He hasn't been saying anything at all. I think he's very I think he's very pissed off. The IRGC should be very worried. I also agree with that. As commander in chief, he takes the loss of our troops seriously. He takes the loss of our troops personally. Yeah, as he should. I mean, it it's a great loss for all of us, and you know, we all take it very personally as well. And I can tell you that Iranians are grieving as well. One of the things I haven't really spoken about because I just haven't had the time is the tributes that Iranians around the world are like the memorials and vigils and tributes that Iranians around the world are holding in front of U.S. consulates for the passing of Senator Lindsey Graham, right? Like it's very rare. It's very rare for, you know, non-Iranians and non-Americans around the world to hold vigils or tributes for an American politician who's passed away, and yet Iranians all around the world are doing that. And hopefully, I'll have some time in a little bit, not today, but maybe one of these few days coming up, to share some of that footage with you guys. And then also love the braids. Thanks, guys. This is literally like my travel look, right? Like I don't have the time to, you know, do my hair, so I just have it in a braid, just, you know, easy, simple, ready to go. And it also, you know, it's kind of humid where I am, so just a way to, you know, quickly and easily manage my hair. But no, thanks. I'm glad you like my little travel braid here. Just, you know, keeps my hair all in one place, I guess. Kevin gifted membership. Thank you so much, Kevin. Appreciate that. And then a super chat from Chris Whiting. Love you, girl. Keep it up. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you for the support. And yes, absolutely, I will be keeping it up, no matter, you know, how long or, you know, where I am. You know, as long as I have my laptop and an internet connection, I'll be here and I'll be sharing my analysis. So happy to do it. Absolutely. Thank you so much for the support. Worldly says, take care, Goldie. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And I really do appreciate all of you guys being here with my not so fancy camera or lighting, but you know, I'm very grateful for all of you. And you know, I guess, guys, I guess it just goes to show, right? I mean, if someone is providing you know, content that's important or worth it, or some sort of analysis, I guess, that's relevant, doesn't matter if you have a fancy camera or a fancy background or not. So I'm just really appreciate that you are all here. Okay, so let me go back now to my analysis. I spent the first hour speaking about the first half. Or sorry, I spent the first hour speaking about, you know, kind of the news and the input and analysis coming from the American side. Let me now go to some of the news and footage coming from the Islamic regime. Again, not the Iranian side, the Islamic regime, the Durkas. So here is the first one. Now, normally, guys, I'm not a fan of sharing Al Jazeera In fact, I despise Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera is literally propaganda mouthpiece for Qatar, right? So normally I would say disregard, like ignore, but I have been looking for a clip of Mohsen Rezai saying what he's saying with like English subtitles. And aside from Al Jazeera, I can't find anything. So, as much as I hate to do this, I'm on the road right now. I don't have the capabilities to do it myself. So this is the clip. So like how you've been seeing all over Fox News the reference to Mohsen Rezai, right? So this was like earlier on here, right? Where was that quote from Rezai? Look at the jihadi terrorist guy. Where is he? I guess it was somewhere in the beginning, maybe. Let's see if we can find it. Where was that quote? Geez, I just had his quote. Was it right at the beginning? You know what? Maybe his quote was right at the beginning. Anyways, okay, I want to keep this here, but let me go to the other one because I guess it must have been his other quote then. Like the other video. Let's see. Was it here? Let me just pull it up. It's always good to have a frame of reference. It's like whenever you want it, like you literally can't find it, right? Oh, here we go. I found it. So this is the quote. Come on, guys. Okay, there you go. So remember, this is the quote that's now going viral on mainstream media, right? So Mohsen Rezai saying, if the U.S. strikes continue for several more days, we will move into a phase of full-scale offensive operations. So here is because on mainstream media, you've just seen this particular quote. Here is the actual video of this Durka terrorist, and remember, on the Boom Boom Bingo sheet, he's up here. So on the Boom Boom Bingo sheet, he is this one here, okay? So he's right at the top. And remember, he was retired, but because the United States and Israel have boom boomed so many of these terrorists that they literally had to drag him back out of retirement. And there he is. That's why he is back as basically as like a terrorist consultant, right? He does like consultancy for terrorism. I guess that's the best way to talk about that. So here he is. This is the video. Again, like I hate Al Jazeera, but this is the only version I can find with the actual English subtitle. So let's just follow along.
ما نمیتونیم نیروهای متخاصم اجازه بدیم از این تنگه عبور کنن وارد کیسه خلیج فارس بشن. اصلا سیاست هم جنگ هم مذاکره تمام شده. هم جنگ داریم هم مذاکره داریم تمام شده. و من از طرف همه نیروهای مسلح عرض میکنم ما تا الان بنا را نه بر گسترش جنگ داشتیم که جنگ گسترش بدیم نه بر این که وارد تهاجم بشیم. کار ما چی بوده؟ ما در جنگ 12 روزه واقعا دنبال این بودیم که منطقه درگیر نشه. یعنی با اینکه آمریکا و اسرائیل به ما حمله کردن در جنگ 12 روزه، اما نه ما به پایگاه‌های آمریکا در کویت نه در جاهای دیگه هیچ حمله نکردیم. ولی بعد از جنگ 12 روزه گفتیم حواستون باشه اگه دوباره جنگ شروع کن جنگ منطقه‌ای میشه. اینا متاسفانه جنگ رو شروع کردن و ما جنگ رو منطقه‌ای کردیم. در هر دو تا جنگ ما سیاستمون بازدارندگی بوده، مقابله به مثل بوده. یعنی اونا موشک میزنن ما موشکای محکم و قوی.
So guys, do you literally see how like he's turning everything around, okay? Like he's literally gaslighting. Everything that he is blaming the Americans and Israel of doing is literally what the Islamic regime has been doing. They're the ones who started the hostilities. They're the ones who began all of this, okay? And so yeah, like he's literally lying. let's
تو
continue.
دهنشون میزنیم، تو صورتشون میزنیم.
چشم در برابر چشم.
مثلا یه تعبیرش همین چشم در مقابل چشم بوده. عمدتا هدف بازدارندگی بوده، پایان دادن به مخاصمه بوده. تنگی هرمز هم که ما گرفتیم پایان دادن به مخاصمه بوده.
Right? So there you go. That's like just like a little bit of input into the utter insanity of these like crazy people. Now, in other words, so given the escalation in conflict between the Islamic regime and the United States, the Islamic regime is now claiming that the MOU is dead. And then he says, so this is like the quote. So this guy is the deputy spokesperson for IRGC. IRGC is the foreign minister. Okay, so that guy is like his deputy, and speaks on behalf of him once in a while. And remember, IRGC right now, he's really hated. He's hated by the Islamic regime supporters because he's viewed as like someone who is trying to make a backdoor deal with the murderer of Khamenei. So IRGC is not in a good position right now when it comes to the Durkas. He's at risk of pretty much being like executed by people within his own party, I guess. But anyway, so this is his spokesperson. He's the deputy, and he says the MOU with the U.S. is dead, and it will never negotiate with the United States again. Good, thank God. Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Gharibabadi announced that the regime is suspending all commitments under the agreement, claiming that the U.S. violated it first. So once again, they're projecting, right? So they're claiming that, literally, the Islamic Muslim Nazis who engage in taqiyya for a living, they are claiming that it was the United States that violated the agreement. He added that Iran will never negotiate with the United States under any circumstances. The June 2026 MOU was meant to halt direct clashes, temporarily reopen the Strait of Hormuz, ease sanctions, and create a path toward a broader agreement. Instead, it collapsed within weeks as both sides accused each other of violating its terms. The regime says it is now purely focused on defending the country. So no, the Islamic regime is not focused on defending the country. The Islamic regime is focused on defending the Islamic regime at the expense of the Iranian people. They don't actually care about Iran. Remember, they're holding Iran hostage, and I get more into that angle of the analysis on Iran Revolution Live. On the Goldie show, I focus more on, international geopolitics and the broader implications. On Iran Revolution Live, I focus explicitly on Iran. So if you want more of like an in-depth look on Iran and, how the Islamic regime is making life a living hell for the Iranian people, definitely check out Iran Revolution Live, especially my earlier live stream from today. It was about an hour and 15 minutes long. So he continues, the Islamic regime says it's now purely focused on defending the country. Gaslighting, he means the Islamic regime occupying the country, raising the risk of renewed regional tensions while ordinary Iranians continue to bear the economic and political consequences, right? So the Islamic regime is dragging the Iranian people into a war that the Iranian people don't want and never wanted. And make sure that you go watch my video with the truck driver on Iran Revolution Live today, because that one is incredibly important and very, very relevant to the situation at hand right now. It also gives you guys a very good perspective about, kind of what is going on from the Iranian side and what Iranian people think. Now, speaking about the military strikes, let me give you like another example of the kinds of places that the United States are targeting. And remember, earlier on when we started, I said that Bandar Abbas is being heavily hit from and not just Bandar Abbas itself, but all of the routes that lead to Bandar Abbas from all over the country. Okay, so from all over the country, Bandar Abbas is pretty much isolated now. Okay, and here is another example of that. So, aftermath of US strikes on tunnel in Bandar Abbas. And it's got English subtitles so you guys can follow along.
گلوگاه یا تونل شهید میرزایی در واقع دو تونل ورودی و خروجی شمالی شهر بندرعباس در حال حاضر به دلیل حمله جنگنده‌های آمریکایی مسدود شدن. دو تونل آسیب
Jang means war. So IK is asking what is Jang? Jang is the Iranian word for war. So Jang, that means war. All right.
جدی دیدن ولی ماشینالات دارن کار میکنن و میگن ما به زودی راه رو باز میکنیم، یعنی حالا به صورت موقتی راه باز میشه که ماشین‌های سبک بتونن تردد کنن.
So guys, that part's important. They say that they are going to fix it so that at least the lighter vehicles can get through, right? So lighter vehicles means like passenger civilian cars, right? So even the way that the United States is striking and targeting these bridges and tunnels and routes, okay, the damage is done in such a way that when it comes to the impact that it has on civilians, the impact is actually quite minimal because he just said, like, probably within a few days, they will be able to repair it enough for light vehicles to cross, right? But the commercial vehicles, right? The military grade vehicles, or, the large transport vehicles that transport like, military supplies, or, all the logistical stuff, those will not be able to transport. They'll not be able to go through, right? So very interesting, right? Very interesting that the person who's filming this is making that distinction.
شدن دو تونل آسیب جدی دیدن ولی ماشینالات دارن کار میکنن و میگن ما به زودی راه رو باز میکنیم، یعنی حالا به صورت موقتی راه باز میشه که ماشین‌های سبک بتونن تردد کنن.
There you go. What I can say is that the vast majority of Iranians right now in occupied Iran, they're aware of what the United States is doing, and the vast majority of Iranians are staying away from tunnels and bridges, especially those that are being used by the IRGC for military purposes, because all of those are pretty much all, legitimate military targets. That's just how the law of armed conflict works. Okay. Okay. That one's not one. And of course, let me just get I just want to check some of the most recent breaking news. Before I go to my overall full analysis, let me just go to the recent breaking news, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe that there may have been some. Yes, okay, that's what I thought. So let me just go to the latest breaking news before I give you my overall assessment and analysis on what I think is going on and what we can expect to see in the upcoming days. Now, again, my analysis could be wrong, right? I'm not a mind reader. I can't predict the future, but just sort of given all based off of what I'm seeing and all of that. And, so far I haven't been wrong. So, just like some latest breaking news. So, 14 minutes ago, Islamic regime claims that U.S. warplanes struck a point near Shahdegan at 5:55 local time, plus areas on Qishm Island at 6:10 local time. What's the current time? 6:43. Okay, so we're talking about, because I'm not in my usual time zone, guys. So I have to get my bearings when it comes to the time. So it's 6:43 a.m. Sunday morning in occupied Iran. So that means that literally less than an hour ago, the United States was targeting IRGC bases in Shahdegan and Qishm Island. Okay, so Shahdegan. So Shahdegan's in Khuzestan. Oh my gosh. چقدر like I don't understand like the IRGC has so many bases in Khuzestan, like it's unbelievable. Okay, like look at this. So guys, so Ahvaz. So okay, let me just pull it up. So when you look at Iran as the kitty cat, right? I was born in like the tummy area, okay, and Khuzestan is like the southwestern part of Iran. That's the province here, Khuzestan, and it's the oil-rich country. I was born in Ahvaz. Okay, that's the city that I was born in. So not only has the IRGC, they've targeted Abadan. And when I give the city names, remember, I'm not talking about like residential places, right? Like I'm always referring to IRGC assets and targets in those areas. So just to be very clear. So IRGC targets in like Abadan, Bandar Mashar, Ahvaz, all these places. Now, like literally a new place, okay? Shahdegan, okay? Like, guys, Shahdegan is like a very tiny area, right? Like, this would be like the equivalent of, let's say, Dallas, and then like Coppell, Texas, right? Where Dallas is like the capital of Texas, and then Coppell is just like, a tiny little municipality. And basically like no one goes to Coppell unless they like live there or they're visiting someone there, right? So that's like what Shahdegan is, right? Like Shahdegan is not even like no one goes there unless like you live there, right? And let me like give you some stats. Okay, like Shahdegan has a population of, like, in 2016, the population actually dropped. So in 2006, the population was about 50,000. In 2016, the population was around 40,000. So we're literally talking about a tiny place that has a population of 40,000, maybe 42,000 people, okay? And the areas surrounding it are being targeted because the IRGC has literally built bases, underground tunnels, secret hideout locations, and warehouses in every single city. So for those of you who are, wondering why isn't that the Iranian people have risen up, or why can't they rise up? There you go. The IRGC has infested every single corner of Iran, even the tiny, tiny cities, have IRGC bases that are being targeted by the United States, right? Like, guys, the United States isn't just going after like the big military assets anymore. They're going after everything. It's almost like, you know what it's like they're doing? It's like they're taking a fine-tooth comb and they're just running it through the country. Like, they're literally just running this fine-tooth comb through the country, and they're just knocking out every single IRGC base, right? And then they're going back and they're like it's almost like they're doing like a clean sweep, right? And it's like every single layer, every single target is pretty much being hit. So like, this is a very, very different strategy than what initially the United States was doing on February 28th. Because remember, when the conflict initially began on February 28th, Israel was also involved. And Israel was more responsible for going after those IRGC assets that were responsible for the suppression and oppression of the Iranian people. So the IDF was targeting the Basij checkpoints. The IDF was targeting the police stations, the Basij centers, right? All those various internal places. Meanwhile, the United States was focusing on targeting IRGC and military assets, okay? So that's initially how the division was sort of working between the United States and Israel, where United States focused on the military side and the IDF focused on the tools of oppression of the Iranian people. Now, however, the United States' strategy has shifted drastically, because not only are they focusing on the military or IRGC assets, they're also going after those assets which are essentially being used as tools of oppression for the Iranian people. Okay? And Israel still has not even entered the picture yet. And I say yet because I feel like at some point Israel will, in fact, join. Sorry, I need more water, guys. Oh my gosh. It's embarrassing. I can't even there we go. Okay. So that's Shadagon, okay? Literally a new place that we haven't seen before. And then 30 minutes ago, 2 explosions heard on Qishm Island. So guys, again, Qishm Island is down here. So it's in the Strait of Hormuz, okay? So Bandar Abbas is like the major port hub. Oops, let me pull it up. So Bandar Abbas is here, the major port hub. This is Qishm. Qishm is right there, okay? That's the whole thing is Qishm Island. And this is like Qishm City type of thing, okay? So there you go. That's Qishm. So we're hearing explosions in Qishm as well. And I'm just close some of my tabs that I have open here. Okay. Let me go back here. All right. So then, earthquake. Apparently an earthquake has been reported in Ahvaz. Oh my gosh. لرزش زمین. زمین لرزه شدید شهرستان شوش. So okay, these are all the different messages that Vahid, so he's another amazing like OSINT account. Um, a lot of people have received or have been sending in messages claiming that there has been some sort of earthquake reported about an hour ago. So apparently, it was a 4.9 magnitude earthquake. Sorry, let me look that up. Okay, so according to AI, guys, I'm not a science person, so I can't tell you if this is an earthquake or not, but apparently a 4.9 magnitude earthquake is generally considered light to moderate. While it causes noticeable shaking and rattling, it rarely causes structural damage to well-built homes. So, what you feel. Widely felt by most people indoors, hanging objects will swing and parked cars may rock slightly. Potential damage. Dishes and windows may rattle, and pictures or loose items on shelves can fall. However, modern, well-constructed structures typically remain undamaged. So here's the thing, though. We have been noticing a lot of these like random earthquakes happening across Iran. And the more that we're finding out about these like secret underground testing facilities, remember, the Islamic regime has built numerous underground testing facilities where they have been secretly testing their, the nuclear weapons that they're trying to develop, right? So oftentimes when people in various places, they felt an earthquake, like they felt the earth rumble, many people assumed that it was an earthquake until we later found out that the Islamic regime has literally built underground facilities to test nuclear bombs or their weapons development or whatever. So this could have been an earthquake. It could have been, I don't know, maybe some sort of underground IRGC base that has now been destroyed. Maybe it was like an underground weapons depository. Like we don't know. But what I do know is that Ahvaz has been heavily targeted by the IRGC bases in Ahvaz, right? So the IRGC bases in Ahvaz and the surrounding areas have been heavily targeted for the last 7 days. And I have actually the vast majority of my family is in this area, right? Like I have family in Ahvaz, I have family in Shushtar, I have family in Disful, I have some family in Izeh, and then of course I have family in Abadan, I have family in Khorramshahr. Khorramshahr is right beside Abadan. I have literally have like family all over, okay? So all my family, and the attacks have been nonstop. Now, thank God, no one that I know has lost their lives, through collateral damage or whatever the case may be, because they're being very, very careful. They're staying indoors, they're staying away from any potential IRGC base. But what I've heard is that for the last 7 nights, the bombings have been nonstop, and they're actually like they are in shock at how many IRGC bases are actually in Ahvaz. Like, they're literally shocked that it's been 7 nights, right? 7 days of like constant nonstop boom booms by the Americans in their, general vicinity, and it hasn't stopped yet. So they're not shocked by the boom booms, right? They're shocked at realizing how much the IRGC has embedded itself into the country, and no one actually knew. Well, I mean, aside from the United States, right? Because they have the intelligence, but like the Iranian people literally had no idea how many of these underground bunkers or missiles or, whatever actually existed. So yeah, and every night the strikes have been getting stronger and stronger, and even more intense. And of course, now we're getting these reports of a potential, possibly an earthquake, or maybe it could have been like some massive chain underground explosion that caused the earth to shake. We don't know. We don't know what it is, but there you go. So that's been reported. So IRGC Khatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters Commander Major General Ali Abdullahi threatened a devastating response to any U.S. savagery, pledging allegiance to Mojtaba Khomeini. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's just basically like just Durka jihadi nonsense. But that on the Boom Boom Bingo sheet, that's this guy. Okay, so Abdullahi, Ali Abdullahi, he's the main commander of Khatam al-Anbiya. So we've already unlocked this Durka a while ago, but just as a memory. So this is one of those characters that we unlocked, I think last week maybe, because he came out with a statement recently. And remember, even though he's IRGC, he's not actually loyal to General Skidmark. Abdullahi, who is pretty much like, I would say, like second, like he's so Vahidi, General Skidmark, he's the first like most powerful person within the IRGC. Abdullahi, this one here, he would be number 2. He's the second most powerful. However, he is not loyal to Vahidi. Abdullahi is loyal to Ghalibaf because Abdullahi has always been like Ghalibaf's lackey, like Ghalibaf's right-hand man. So that's essentially what's happening with this relationship here. So, of course, there's tension between the two. But, of course, they all, at the end of the day, pretend like they're loyal to, the Khomeini and whatever, because they're all basically vying for power and control and authority. So going back to this statement, okay? My gosh, I don't even know, like, I don't know if I want to read this whole thing because it's literally just like jihadi nonsense. But I mean, ugh. Basically, like the summary here is pretty much all we need to know is that he threatened a devastating response to any U.S. savagery, and he pledged his allegiance to Khomeini, the cardboard supreme dictator. So there we go. Yeah. All right. Okay. So then we have more blasts. So more blasts on Qishma Island. So again, for those keeping track, Qishma Island is down here. It's in the Strait of Hormuz, right next to Bandar Abbas. So blasts there. IRGC-owned Tasnim News confirms at least 6 projectiles landed in Qishma Island. Jet activity over central and western Tehran. There you go. Is there any footage? That's Erbil. 3 blasts in Bandar Abbas. Okay, so Bandar Abbas is still being targeted. Wow, Haji Abad. Guys, Haji Abad, literally, it's like another like small town, right? So again, this is how much the IRGC has embedded itself into even like tiny Iranian towns and villages, because even somewhere like Hajiabad is like, it's absolutely wild to me. Like, guys, I'll show you Hajiabad, right? Like, this is Hajiabad over here, okay? So Hajiabad is up here, and it's like it's literally like an intersection, okay? It's literally an intersection, okay? Like, let me show you how big Hajiabad is, okay? Like, I'll tell you the population of Hajiabad. Jeez. Where is it here? Let me go back. Yeah, so Hajiabad, again, has a population of like 45,000 people, okay? So there are IRGC bases around this, another tiny, tiny little place that's literally 45,000 people. Guys, like I've literally attended universities with like more students enrolled, okay? So just want to point that out as well. Like these are like some tiny places, but as you can see, the Islamic regime, being the cancer that it is, right? It's spread out across the entire country. So they really are like a cancer, because this cancer has spread to every corner of occupied Iran, every like tiny town or village or farm or rural area or whatever. Like, every single one of them has some sort of IRGC base. Okay. So just wanted to point that out as well. Like, it's just wow, right? Like, every single like tiny, tiny place, right? I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, this is how much the IRGC has embedded itself into Iran. So that's Hajiabad. And then, oh my gosh, Shahin Shahr. That's another tiny place. Behbahan, blasts in Ahvaz, more blasts in Ahvaz. Behbahan, oh my gosh, Behbahan هم دارن میزنن. Behbahan is also close to Ahvaz, okay? So literally just like all over the country. I just want to see if there's like anything that is okay. No, it's just more strikes. Okay. What's this? All right. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Okay, here's more footage of the tunnel that was struck going to Bandar Abbas, right? So, okay, there you go. So that's pretty much it for kind of like the breaking news. Now I want to, because again, guys, my time is limited, and I only have a little bit more time left before I have to go. So what I want to do is I want to give you my analysis. So for those who've been watching in from the beginning, of course, I started off with the U.S. side and the U.S. news, and then I shared with you, the Islamic regime and what they're saying and doing, and all their Durka nonsense. I've now also kind of gone over the latest breaking news. So now I want to give you, before I go to the rest of your super chats and questions and comments, I'm now going to give you my analysis. And sorry, I've written a few things down, so I'm just going to be reading over my notes for you guys because that's just going to be much easier for me. Okay, so here's now my sort of overall analysis on what's going on. So, earlier today, CENTCOM launched a new series of attacks against the Islamic regime and announced that in retaliation for the deaths of 2 American soldiers in Jordan, it would carry out more intense strikes to punish the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Of course, on Saturday, and I mentioned this earlier, it was announced that 2 American servicemen, or at least 2 American service members, were killed in IRGC attacks on Jordan. Another individual is missing, and we don't know if that person is alive or dead. Once again, my condolences to everyone. So there are 2 major air bases in Jordan that are used by the United States. You have Al Azraq Air Base and you have Muwafaq Salti Air Base. Muwafaq Salti Air Base is named after a Jordanian lieutenant and pilot. And this air base holds American aircraft, and the United States has expanded that facility over the years. During the Islamic regime's recent attacks on Jordan, 1 missile struck the base. Several American helicopters were damaged, and of course, that's when 2 U.S. service members were killed. And so in response, CENTCOM has announced that it's going to respond with even more severe attacks. Now, keep in mind, CENTCOM reports directly to the commander-in-chief. So for those who are wondering, well, why is President Trump quiet? Why hasn't President Trump said anything or made any statement or issued any statements? Keep in mind, CENTCOM operates at the command of the commander-in-chief. So when CENTCOM, puts out a statement, or whenever CENTCOM announces that they're going to, respond with more severe attacks, or they're going to do this, or they're going to do that, you can assume that's President Trump speaking, because CENTCOM answers to President Trump, and CENTCOM takes orders from President Trump. So don't assume that just because President Trump hasn't put out anything on Truth Social is because he doesn't know, or he doesn't care, or he's not paying attention, right? Anyone who says that about President Trump, or if anyone is, attacking him for being silent, they're, either idiots or they just don't understand how these things work, or, they have Trump derangement syndrome, or whatever the case might be. Okay. President Trump is most likely, being silent because, okay. So let me just share something, because I know some people are saying CENTCOM reports to the Secretary of War. Yes, however, the Secretary of War responds to the Commander-in-Chief. And if you look at what CENTCOM has posted in recent days, let me show you what I am referring to. So, 5 hours ago, today at 6 p.m. Eastern U.S., forces began launching new airstrikes against Iran at the Commander-in-Chief's direction. The Commander-in-Chief is not the Secretary of War. The Commander-in-Chief is the United States of America, President Trump. Okay? So this is what I mean when I say that CENTCOM refers or responds to President Trump. Okay? Perhaps, yes, it's through the Secretary of War. However, ultimately, it goes back to the Commander-in-Chief. So when I say that Trump is speaking through CENTCOM, this is what I'm talking about, because the point of my analysis is not, who CENTCOM reports directly to. The point of my analysis is that those people who are claiming President Trump has remained silent because he doesn't know what's going on, or he doesn't care, or, he's out of it, those people are lying, or they are stupid, or they don't understand geopolitics, or they just hate President Trump. So the point here is that people who are wondering why President Trump has not posted on Truth Social, why has he not made a statement? He is literally making statements through CENTCOM. So that's what I'm trying to say here. And I'm thinking that perhaps the reason President Trump has remained silent for the last 24 hours is because there are some big things happening behind the scenes. And I'm assuming most likely for maybe OPSEC or military or, whatever reason, President Trump right now is not saying anything directly, because I think there is something bigger happening. And I don't think we've seen the grand finale yet. I think we are actually building up to that grand finale. However, what I'm finding really interesting is in the last several posts by CENTCOM, they have specifically referred to the commander-in-chief. Okay, so this is not the first time in the last 3 or 4 days that CENTCOM has put out a statement where they've referred to at the direction of the commander-in-chief, or at the commander-in-chief's direction. So this is the post from just earlier today. But then there's also no, it wasn't this one. This one. Okay, so for example, right? So their statement from yesterday, CENTCOM continues to hold Iran accountable at the commander-in-chief's direction, right? So again, this is President Trump making another statement through CENTCOM, okay? And then again, here, right? So this is from 2 days ago, or this is July 17, right? Again, the strikes are designed to continue at the commander-in-chief's direction. So again, another direct reference to President Trump. And then, one more statement here, I believe. Is it... Here we go. So now we're going to July 16. So once again, on July 16, at the commander-in-chief's direction. Okay? So that's another direct reference to President Trump. And then see, like here they don't have it, but here we go. Here's another one. Right? So this one is from July 15. Again, U.S. military is holding Iran accountable at the commander-in-chief's direction. Okay, so I just want to point this out because I find it really interesting that every single statement that CENTCOM is making, they are basically referring to President Trump, not Secretary of War Hegseth, President Trump. So those who think President Trump is remaining silent because, he doesn't know what's going on or he's overwhelmed or whatever, those people are literally not worth their salt. They don't understand anything. And, they're either grifters or they're anti-American or, they're President Trump haters or whatever the case might be. Because CENTCOM is essentially, oh, wow, they just... Okay, this is from 9 minutes ago. Wow, okay, guys. So, wait, is this from 9 minutes ago? Did they just post this? Oh, wow, yes. Okay, guys, so look at this. Look at this. Can I get a hashtag Goldie is always right? Look, their post from 10 minutes ago literally mentions Commander-in-Chief's direction once again. So, U.S. Central Command completed another round of strikes against Iran on July 18 at 11:30 p.m. Eastern at the Commander-in-Chief's direction. During the 8th consecutive night of U.S. strikes, CENTCOM forces successfully hit Iranian military coastal surveillance and air defense facilities, maritime capabilities, and missile and drone storage sites to continue degrading Iranian military capabilities. American military assets also targeted the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps forces that launched strikes against U.S. service members in Jordan on July 17. More than 50,000 U.S. men and women in uniform are operating across the Middle East. They remain highly vigilant, focused, lethal, and ready. Okay, here is some new footage from CENTCOM, which I will play for you guys right now. There you go. So that's the footage of that. And yes, guys, I am a little bit quieter because I'm on the road, so I have to use my indoor voice. Whisper. And I have to go to bed soon as well. But I just want to finish my analysis really quick. So, okay. So just finishing up what I was saying. So, CENTCOM announced that it would respond with more severe attacks, and obviously it has. Okay, so CENTCOM has responded with even more severe attacks today, and like I mentioned, they always say at the direction of the commander in chief. So they're referring to President Trump. Now, attacks are being carried out, all across like the southern border, and some people are claiming that we are seeing signs suggesting that the United States and Israel. So this is a part I want to share with you. This is coming from Morad Vaisi. You guys know Morad Vaisi. He's like one of the top geopolitical analysts. So I want to give you his input and insight on what he thinks is happening as well. So he believes that we are seeing signs suggesting that the United States and Israel are preparing for a much larger military operation. Initially, there were around 20 air refueling aircraft stationed at Ben Gurion Air Base. Then permission was requested to increase that number to 30. Because Ben Gurion also handles commercial passenger flights, another 30 American refueling aircraft had to be relocated to Ramon Air Base, which means that the Americans now have 60 aerial refueling aircraft in Israel, and that total is expected to increase to 100. If the number of American refueling aircraft in Israel reaches 100, Morad Vaisi believes that indicates a very large operation against the Islamic regime is imminent, because why else would the United States want to position 100 refueling aircraft in Israel? They already have 60 there. Now, he continues, during the 12-day war, Israeli aircraft flew roughly 1,500 kilometers to carry out operations against the Islamic regime and then returned. Now, this is where the comparison, the military comparison, is very important. During the 12-day war last summer, when Israel flew 1,500 kilometers to carry out operations against the Islamic regime and then return, they only had about seven aerial refueling aircrafts and had to borrow another 3 or 4. So during the 12-day conflict, they had, about roughly, let's say, 10 aerial aircraft refueling. Aerial refueling aircrafts. They only had 10 for that 12-day conflict. Now, there's at least, the Americans have brought in at least 60, with the possibility of bringing in another 40 more. So just compare the number. 10 used last summer versus the 60 that are already there and could possibly become even more. There's, of course, also a strong possibility that Israel is going to become directly involved once again, either in like a response to the IRGC or, possibly a sort of pre-planned operation with the United States. Of course, at the same time, the blockade against the Islamic regime is continuing. So that means the Islamic regime, on top of all the military stuff, it is still continuing to lose $500 million every day due to the blockade. And CENTCOM has reported, I think, at least 2 or 3 ships belonging to the Islamic regime that have, turned around and gone back to port. So that's sort of there. Now, I've spoken about some of these places that have already been struck. I spoke about Bandar Abbas. I spoke about Haji Abad. Now, this is what's important about Haji Abad. Haji Abad, this is like the intel that Morad Baisi is giving. So if I pull up Haji Abad for you guys, let me do that again here. Haji Abad. Here we go. Okay. So small town. However, okay, remember, this is Haji Abad, but as you can see, do you see the road? So it's like an important juncture, okay? So Haji Abad is an important juncture when it comes to the travel routes, okay? Especially when it comes to the travel routes used by the Islamic regime. So Morad Baisi continues. Here we go. Oh no, wait, let me keep the map here so you guys can follow along. So Haji Abad is a major road junction. From there, the road leads toward, like it goes east, west, north, and south. Haji Abad is located approximately 165 kilometers north of Bandar Abbas. Okay, so where is it? Haji Abad is here, and Bandar Abbas is down there. So that's 165 kilometers. You guys can convert that to American miles. Sorry, guys, I'm Canadian. And Haji Abad was, the area around it was bombed once again because, like I was mentioning, the Americans have decided to sever Bandar Abbas from the rest of the country because Bandar Abbas is a port. Okay. And if we go here, remember earlier today, guys, so this is Haji Abad. So Haji Abad is here. Lor is here. You guys, so Lor hasn't been in the media, so you guys haven't heard about Lor. But the reason, like, I actually have intel from Lor. Lor is also another place because you see this junction here. So there's another junction. Lor has also been, like, the surrounding areas of Lor has been targeted by the IRGC as well, because again, all these roads lead to Bandar Abbas, right? So, Haji Abad here, you have this highway, this major artery that goes to Bandar Abbas, okay? So Haji Abad is there. Lor, again, another major artery, because from here you have highway, I guess 94 or whatever, which eventually leads to Bandar Abbas. So all of these various like bridges and tunnels and whatever that you're hearing about, they're all strategic because they all kind of lead back to Bandar Abbas, which is being heavily targeted. So all that to say, guys, they're literally like the strategy is to prevent logistical and military supplies from moving to and from Bandar Abbas, because Bandar Abbas is the key area, right? Going back to our map here, Bandar Abbas is the main area when it comes to all of these military operations in that in the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz area, right? So they're basically severing Bandar Abbas militarily from the rest of the country. Okay, that's going to severely degrade the ability of the Islamic regime to go after ships in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the thing is, though, given what we know about all of the military assets that the United States has now brought into the Middle East, and so this is a screenshot from Fox News. Like, guys, this is not an insignificant amount, okay? Like, this is huge. This is huge. Now, again, we don't know the exact number of, what or where or whatever, because obviously the United States is going to keep some of that confidential. But for example, just the fact that in Israel alone, the United States has brought in 60 aircraft, 60 aerial refueling aircraft. Plus, apparently some people think that they're going to bring in about 40 more to bring that total to 100. Why would the United States randomly send at least 60 aerial refueling aircraft to Israel, right? Unless they're planning on doing something big, something huge. You literally have like at least 30% of the entire active US fleet there. And we are now seeing that. So when it comes to the MOU, when it comes to these deals and the negotiations, I think it's over. I really do believe that it's over, because you also have to remember, from a personal standpoint, not only has the Islamic regime threatened or tried to assassinate President Trump twice, but they've also tried to assassinate his daughter, Ivanka Trump. I mean, that's at least the one time that we know of. There could be other attempts that we haven't heard of, right? So I honestly, I cannot see how the Islamic regime can survive this. I really can't. The conflict has started, even though it's not being called a war, right? It's a conflict, and things are escalating. Okay, every night is even more intense than the night before, and I haven't seen any indication of talks, right? And what's really interesting is that at the end of last week, remember when President Trump said, it's over, I'm done with them. And then, but he also said, sure, if they want to talk, I'll talk, right? If they want to talk, I'll talk with them. But he said, but the ceasefire is over, okay? Today, the Islamic regime has claimed that, they're never going to engage in talks again. Well, you know what? Good. Thank God. I'm glad, because that's just giving President Trump another excuse, or, even more confirmation that he should just destroy them, right? And I think now with the news of at least, 2 American service members being murdered by the Islamic regime yesterday, I don't think Trump is going to let this go. I just don't think he is. So, let's keep an eye on everything. Let's see how things progress. But I mean, I don't want to say anything prematurely, But, all signs, to me at least anyway, when I'm looking at what's happening, all signs are sort of leading towards the end game. Of course, barring something insane, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's politics, and, you cannot 100% predict anything in politics. I mean, who knows? Maybe President Trump might wake up tomorrow and I don't know, maybe say like, okay, like, they want to do another ceasefire. Sure, let's do another ceasefire. Right? I mean, that could happen. Or I don't know, maybe the Islamic regime, you know, there's an internal coup d'etat, and then let's say Ghalibaf comes into power and he's like, oh, you know what, we're going to surrender, right? I mean, you can never 100% predict what happens in politics. However, from everything that I'm seeing so far, right, if the signs and if the indicators remain as they are, and barring nothing changes, guys, I'm giving extreme examples. I'm only giving like extreme examples, right? But what I'm saying is that as of right now, all of the signs that I'm seeing, both from an economic point of view, with the sanctions, from a military point of view with the blockade, from the military view as well when it comes to the boom booms, with the intensity of the boom booms and the change in strategy of what is being targeted, right? At this point, all of these signs, to me, seem to lead to total destruction and eradication of the Islamic regime. Now, of course, if one of these factors changes, then my analysis, of course, will change as well. But based on what I am currently seeing, if nothing changes, President Trump, to me, seems like he is gearing up to destroy the Islamic regime, or, as he likes to say, militarily degrade them to such a point where the Iranian people can then rise up, overthrow the Islamic regime, and reclaim the country. That's what I am seeing right now, based on the current signs. I mean, I can't predict future signs. So if something in the future changes, then of course my analysis will change based on that. But my current analysis, based on what I'm seeing, this is what I'm seeing. This is the road. This is the road. This is the path that I am seeing based on all the signs. So, but take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt, because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. Anyways, let me get to your questions and comments, and then I will have to call it a night because we've gone on much longer than I anticipated. But there's so much to talk about, and I'm more than happy to be here with all of you guys. So thank you so much for all your support and your kind words. Okay, so we have our next super chat from Sassy Frass. Thank you, Goldie, for all that you do. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate that. And guys, thank you for being here, and being with me means a lot to me. Chase Warburton, thanks for keeping us informed even when you're on the road. Happy to do so. I really appreciate. It's something that means a lot to me. It's something that means a lot to me, and we've built a fantastic community. So always happy to be here. I have a feeling that some more faces will be grayed out on the Boom Boom Bingo sheet soon. Let's hope so. From your lips to God's ears, Chase. Let's hope so. Wouldn't that be amazing? Push-ups. Was your family around for the Abadan fire? Yes. Yeah, my family was around for that, and yeah, they remember that. And it was horrible. It was horrible. That was basically a false flag event by the communists and the Islamists. So basically, for those who don't know, the Abadan fire, it's called Cinema Rex. It happened in 1979. It was a false flag event where the communists and the jihadis basically locked the doors to a movie theater in Abadan, and they basically set it on fire, and they locked the doors so that all over 400 people inside, men, women, and children, they all basically burned alive. And then they blamed that on the Shah. They blamed that on Savak, right? The Shah's, brutal police, or, whatever jihadi word they call it. And they basically used that as the spark for the Islamic coup d'etat and the revolution, right? So the entire 1979 Islamic revolution is based on a lie. It's based on a lie because after the Islamic regime was, successful and occupied the country, then the truth came out that it wasn't actually the Shah or, his police who started the fire. It was the jihadis themselves. So, yeah, I have family members who lived through that, and they've, it was a horrifying thing. Macy Dixon, this is so awful. Yeah, no, it's sad news for sure. The IRGC must pay for what they did in Jordan. Yeah, I agree. They need to pay. And I think they need to be exterminated. That's the only way, I think. Aaron, can you please explain the skid marks better? Why do they have dents in their heads? Self-inflicted? Yes. So let me pull up the Boom Boom Bingo sheet once again, guys. I think I closed it. So let me just pull it up for you. Okay. So if I pull up our Boom Boom Bingo sheet, there we go. So the reason that the crazy Durkas have like skid marks on their forehead is because Muslims pray. They pray on like they basically they use like a piece of clay. Okay, so sorry guys, let me just open this up. Open image, new tab. So they basically pray on like some sort of clay tablet, right? And of course, part of that prayer is sort of, bowing down and putting your head on like the clay thing, okay? Like this. And guys, I also think this is like a Shia Muslim thing. So I think this is like literally like an Islamic regime thing, okay? So it's like the Shia Muslims who do this. Anyway, so part of like the prayer is like, first of all, they're supposed to pray 5 times a day. And then, I don't know, during each prayer, I don't know how many times they touch the stone with their forehead, maybe like, I don't know, 10 or 20 times or something each prayer. I don't recall. But so the skid marks, okay? So the reason that these people have skid marks, okay? So going back to general skid mark. So the reason he has like that skid mark on his forehead is because that's pretty much meant to sort of imply that, he is so religious. He is so religious that, he prays all the time. And because he prays all the time, his forehead is permanently marked with the Durkha prayer stone, okay? So, however, like this doesn't actually this can't it's not a thing. Just because you're gently, putting your head on the clay, you're not going to get an indent or like a skid mark. Otherwise, like every single Shia Muslim would have like a giant skid mark and that indentation on their foreheads. So the reason that he has it is because he literally takes the clay and he like rubs it on his forehead, and he's done that so many times that eventually like it becomes like a permanent skid mark. And the permanent skid mark is, basically like it's like how they show off, right? So they're like, "Oh, look at me, like I'm so religious that like I pray so much that I have like a skid mark on my forehead." Um Again, this is not like a naturally occurring thing. So this skid mark, oh no, it's not a birthmark. No, no, no. It's not a birthmark. Guys, this is self-inflicted, right? They literally take that stone and they rub it on their forehead so much and so hard that eventually it leaves a permanent stain and a permanent dent on their foreheads. So, like this one has it too. Do you see? Like this one, he also has it, right? This one, he kind of has it, okay, right? But you see, like Goldie, like this one, wait, this one, right? Like he kind of has it, but you see Ghalibov, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have the skid mark, right? Pizishkian, he doesn't really have the skid mark either, right? Arokchi, he doesn't have the skid mark. This guy doesn't have the skid mark. Let's find some more with the skid mark for you guys because I think I've pointed out a few, but I don't think Rezai does. Does Rezai have it? See, like Rezai doesn't have it, okay? Mojtaba, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it, right? Khamenei didn't have it. Khabar Margish, right? Like these ones don't have it. But see, like this one does. And then Vahidi has it too, okay? So that's because, like this one, ew, look at this one. I think this one has it too. See, like, so you can kind of see the skid mark. So these people, see this guy, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. So the reason that he has it, and the others, so they literally take the prayer mole and they rub it on their forehead. So there you go. And I'm actually the one who coined the term, or like started using the term skid mark when it comes to these people, because to me it literally looks like a skid mark. So there you go. That's what it is. That's the purpose and meaning behind the skid marks on these the foreheads of these terrorists. And anyone who has that skid mark, like they're even more like, first of all, they're all Muslim Nazi terrorists. Okay, so they're all evil, but the ones that have the skid mark, like they're even more. They're even more insane. Oh my gosh. I actually had a troll. Like, look at this, guys. Look at this troll. This troll is actually like wasting money because they feel so triggered. I mean, the only thing you're doing is just like supporting my channel. So I mean, thank you, troll, I guess. But I mean, all I can do is I can just ban you. But I mean, I guess thanks for supporting my channel, Javid Shah. I'm gonna actually, good fella, I'm gonna donate 100% of your super chat. I mean, it's not even that much. Like, you only gave like $2, I guess, but you know what? That's fine. I'm going to use that $2 to buy myself a lion and sun pin that's going to go very well with my Savak hat. Okay, so good fella, just to let you know, you see this hat, you see the Savak hat? Yeah, you don't have to worry about the United States invading, because the United States is not going to invade. You guys are the invaders. You guys are the foreign Arab Muslim Tuzzies. And whenever the United States is done with degrading, all of your Muslim Nazi sugar daddies, what's going to happen is the Iranian people, we are going to get rid of the cancer that is the Islamic regime. So you guys are the invaders, and we are going to get rid of you. And yeah, see that? You know what that is. So there you go. But there you go. I'm gonna use 100% of the money that you gave me to buy myself a beautiful Lion and Sun pin. Javid Shah, Payande Iran. And yeah, see this? There you go. My beautiful Iran flag. So thank you. Thank you for your contribution to the Lion and Sun National Revolution. Thank you for your contribution to helping free Iran. Payande Iran Javid Shah. چقدر اینا واقعا هرس میخورن. It's actually really funny. Anyways, I'm going to ban that person because we don't need them anymore. Mike Hanuga says, free occupied Iran. Thank you. Javid Shah, thank you. God bless American service members. Thank you, Goldie, for the info. Your channel is true and real. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Javid Shah, God bless America. Nolibug, finish them. I agree. Thank you, Savak Agent Goldie. Yeah, you guys got the reference, right? There you go. My Kanuga intuition tells me the IRGC will be destroyed finally. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that's what all the signs are pointing to. But again, we have to wait and see. Who knows? I mean, my analysis could be completely different tomorrow based on, new information. We just don't know. No one can predict the future. Maria Daniel gave a super sticker. Thank you so much. Fickle Knot, I'm excited to receive my Boom Boom bingo sheet next week. Oh, that's exciting. Let me know how it turns out. Payande Iran Javid Shah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Fickle Knot. My Kanuga, free the Iranian people and culture. Thank you. I agree. Free them. Free us from the Durkha Nazis. Aaron says, so it's like a liberal with wearing a mask. I am a better person than you. Thanks, Goldie, for explaining the skid marks. Yes, that's exactly it. I mean, I know I scared it. So I know I explained them the first time that I kind of spoke about the skid mark thing. But I know, many people probably missed that. So more than happy to explain it again. It's why I'm here to answer all your questions. But guys, everything has a purpose. Everything has a reason. I don't just come up with something, just out of the blue. So that's the skid mark reference. Trying to Catholic Ash Wednesday. That's definitely not the same thing though, because Ash Wednesday is a specific religious holiday. And I know what you're talking about. It's when people like take some ash and they'd like put like the mark of the cross on their forehead. That's literally not the same thing, because that's like something temporary that you do for Ash Wednesday. And that's but the skid mark is like a permanent tattoo. The skid mark is people just taking this clay stone and rubbing it on their foreheads until it's permanently engraved. And it doesn't have to do with like a religious holiday or anything like that. It's basically just people trying to show off about how crazy they are, claiming that they pray nonstop 24/7. So it's definitely, it's not the same thing at all whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. Tammy Eaton, Jesus condemned the Pharisees for performative religion. That guy is a modern Muslim Pharisee. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. It's all performative. My Kanuga, Vahidi mark is probably painted on or tattooed. I mean, yeah, it could be, but I mean, all those Durkas have them, right? And then finally, we have a super sticker from G Monty. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, I wanted to thank you all for tuning in for tonight's evening edition of The Goldie Show. I was only supposed to go for about an hour, but it's 2 hours and 20 minutes later, and I still had to go through a lot. But I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And make sure that you have your notifications turned on, because I am currently on the road. So my schedule is all over the place. I have no idea when I'll be able to live stream next, but I'm going to be committing to trying to live stream at least 1 hour a day. So just keep your notifications turned on, especially on YouTube. And that way you'll always know when I'm going live. I want to thank all of you for your patience and understanding with sort of my schedule being all over the place. I promise you it's only for a little while. I'll be back to my usual schedule in about 2 weeks from now. But until then, I wanted to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's evening edition and analysis of The Goldie Show. And I hope you guys now all have sort of a better understanding of why the United States is targeting certain specific key areas, and also why I believe that we may be approaching the end game for the Islamic regime, and why we may have already reached the point of no return. Again, I could be wrong, but all the signs that I see so far point to that. Anyways, until tomorrow, I'm Goldie Gamari. You've been watching The Goldie Show, and as always, and now you know. I will see all of you guys soon.